So we are embarking on our fourth week of our pilgrimage together, and I want to review some really important bits from our third week and your studies. And we began with choose a happy mind, and we finished with lucky me. And so I wanted to create a theme for you each week and something to focus on with all the different practices and teachings that you're getting, this sort of overriding theme. And that is this idea that we create space, the Viktor Frankl's space training we're doing, and in that space we choose how we want to show up for anything in our lives. And I'm reminded of one of my favorite stories that's in the book as well by a Harvard professor, Shawn Achor, who's one of the leaders in positive psychology and happiness. He wrote the book Happiness Advantage. And he just tells a simple story when he was working, he was teaching a workshop at a corporation on happiness. And during the break, he goes outside. And the first guy that comes outside says, oh my gosh, it's so hot outside. Ugh. And he goes back in. And the second dude comes outside and he looks at Shawn and he's like, oh my God, what a beautiful day. And I love that simple story because our lives, our days are made of these moments where we're living these choices that they're so unconscious we don't even realize I'm choosing to be grateful for a beautiful day and acknowledge it and be happy and feel happy, or I go back inside because it's not the perfect weather or a little bit too hot for me. And I think that using that simple story and using like the quotes from Abraham Lincoln on choosing happiness, and thinking about that in a way that, how am I living the moments? It's this is a week at my yoga school where we're studying Anahata, which is your heart energy. And I was talking to the students about like, how do we know we all want to be loving and happy, but how do we really show up in our lives and do that? And again, like I say in my book, it's like it's practices that we become like this muscle gets stronger and stronger of choosing gratitude, which is why we do a gratitude practice every day, and choosing to feel lucky and blessed rather than to complain. And so one of the heart practices I gave the students was to choose one day a week out of 7 to say, today is a day that I don't complain. No complaints today. And what you realize when you do this practice is how much we unconsciously complain about the weather, about another person, about our job, about. And so simply by directing our mind and choosing that space of, I'm going to direct my mind towards feeling lucky. So this is one of the little practices that I started years ago, and my students will tell you it's one of their favorites, where I talked about there are messages everywhere, and if we're just open to them, we'll see like the messages of gratitude. And I was making some joke about, I had Lucky brand jeans on. I'm like, oh, I unzip my jeans, and there it is, lucky you. And so there's a lot of laughter around that. But I'm like, wouldn't it be cool if we put little messages everywhere just to remind us? So I'm like, get a package of stickums and write lucky me on them, and then stick them in your jean pocket, on your computer screen, in a book, put it somewhere where you'll forget that it's there, and then all of a sudden you'll find it. And this particular lucky me was in a drawer that I have, and when I open the drawer, I always see it, and it makes me smile every time I see it. Some of my students were putting them in different places at our yoga studio, and one of them put a lucky me on our mirror, so when people go in and they're washing their hands, and they look at lucky me. And one of my students who was new and didn't know the teaching, but just saw those 2 words and an exclamation mark, got it. And he's like, I love that, stick them in the bathroom, and I'm gonna put those stickers around my house and in my bathroom, in my office. And I love he shared with me this story that his son was young. I think he was 6 years old. Heard his father saying "Lucky Me," and started saying "Lucky Me." And his father then explained to him what it means to feel fortunate, to feel blessed. And so it became something in their family now that they share with each other. And so isn't that beautiful? Like, we can teach this. We can teach how to cultivate happiness. We can teach how to generate more gratitude in our life, and to really show up and live the precious moments of our life, walking outside and saying, it's a beautiful day. I am so grateful to live here. And then even when the hardships and we're in the storm, we're lost in a forest, when that muscle is strong, it's there for us. And I want to tell you that lucky me is not something I feel like it's rose-colored glasses at all. Lucky me is when I'm going through something very challenging and difficult. A great loss in my life comes to mind. You know, we just studied the barns burnt down. Lucky me is when something happens that I didn't plan on, I didn't raise my hand for. Such a great metaphor to say the barns burnt down. It's an unexpected loss. But for me to see the moon and to acknowledge it, because that muscle is strong, to look for a gift, to look for something I can ground myself in as I walk through grief or as I walk through sadness, that I can say, yes, I'm sad. I know you all reading my books, you know, I lost my father a few years ago, and I miss him very much, and there's sadness there, but at the same time, I ground myself in my love for him. That is something I learned from him. And that is my lucky me. And that is how I choose to show up for the precious moments of my life, and how I would like to invite you to become a lucky me practitioner and to show up with gratitude for the wonderful moments of your life.